Please be advised that everything in my video is purely for entertainment purposes. These are purely my thoughts and opinions and are subjective. I must advise you to please do your own research. All media used is found on the public domain and are fair use and fair dealings. Hey guys, I hope you're all doing okay. So thank you very much for all of the lovely messages about my dog Chia. I'll be honest, I haven't slept properly since I spoke to the vet. It upset me massively. I just glazed over. For those of you that don't want to hear about my dog's tough. I just glazed over when the vet was talking to me, and all I heard was renal failure and euthanasia, and that was it. You know, I just gone. Lip was going on, all I could hear was... So I've since got off the phone with a vet and actually spoken to a specialist that deals with leishmaniasis. Now, this is a disease that she's got. She is a rescue from Greece, both of my dogs are, and it's something that you need to get them blood tested for every year. I didn't know that. She was negative when she came to the UK, and then she had another negative blood test. And then haven't had her tested for about, I don't know, about 15, 16 months. And yeah, she's got it. So it's something that can just sit with the dogs once they've been infected by it, and it lies dormant. And then it can activate even up to 4 years later. So please, if you have rescued your dogs from Europe, it's to do with a sandfly. It's called leishmaniasis. And if left untreated, it is a killer. So she's going to start on a month-long, very intensive, very expensive bottle of magic medicine. And then she's on tablets for the rest of her life. So providing that she reacts well to the treatment, she should be okay. But it's always that thing, they're your babies. We love our pets. Those of us that are pet lovers, this is probably not the channel for you if you're not a pet lover. But she's okay. She's obviously not quite herself at the minute, hence why we took her to the vet anyway. But we're hoping to get the treatment. I'm waiting for the phone call from the vets and get her on the treatment as soon as possible. So thank you to all of you that sent me the really lovely messages and being so understanding. As I said, you know, they're our babies. So let's get on to the royal family. We've had some fantastic news. The Duchess of Cambridge, in the run-up to the Rugby Six Nations starting on the 5th of February, has been made patron of the Rugby Football Union. This position was previously held by Harry, but we all know Harry's no longer here. So this is going to be very interesting when England play the reigning champions, which is Wales, on the 26th of February, because guess who's the patron for Wales? Prince William. So I'm really hoping that they are both there, and just they're very competitive in a really fun way as a couple. You see them, you know, when they're racing boats, when they're playing hockey, they're always really playful. But to have Catherine and William stood there blazered up, because unlike football, rugby fans can mix with each other without trying to kill each other. But it would be great fun to see them, you know, obviously with the teams kind of scoring and stuff. I'm not sure Prince George or Charlotte would be there though, because it'd be like, who do I support, mum or dad? As I said, Catherine and William are quite a comedic couple when they're together, and they always muck around. So I think that would make for some interesting footage, shall we say. And speaking of Catherine, she recently went to visit Shout. This was a project which was spearheaded by the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and also Prince Harry as part of their Heads Together campaign. Shout is a text message service which is available 24/7, and it's basically that even the Samaritans, which is a UK charity, actually got rid of their text line. It's for people that are struggling, and they recommend to use Shout now. Catherine was there for the 1 year anniversary, and she was told there by the staff that they've had over 1 million conversations with people all over the UK. And for this service to be available, it is completely free, it's completely confidential. It's so confidential that it doesn't even show up on your phone bill. And no matter what your issue is, you can get in touch with someone, as I said, 24/7. It's a fantastic service, especially what people have been going through for the last couple of years. Yes, there are lots of us that have got friends and family, but there are also a lot of people out there that don't. The long-term effects of being so isolated and feeling so lonely for a lot of people is definitely something that will be affecting mental health services for quite some time. So this was quite a big anniversary for the service. Now, Charles and Camilla did a very important royal engagement together. Now, this was to do with Holocaust Day. Charles is the patron of the Holocaust Memorial, and Charles, out of his own money, commissioned, and this was on TV. For those of you with catch up that missed it, you can watch it. It was on BBC Two on the 27th of January, and he commissioned 7 different artists to create 7 different portraits of 7 of the Romanian Holocaust survivors. The exhibition is part of the Buckingham Palace exhibition, and I've seen the artwork myself, but I haven't watched the programme, especially with given how I've been feeling the last few days. I think I wouldn't have watched much of it due to mascara in my eyes. But it was a lovely, wonderful project, and I think Charles commissioning this and doing a documentary, again, it is about educating people, which makes it all the more so offensive that his son, Harry, wore that costume. And I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. There is no way on this earth that I think anyone is right in the head to ever think, I'm going to wear a fancy dress outfit wearing one of those uniforms. I don't care whether he thought it was a bit of fun. And for anyone that takes sympathy with Harry for his age, I'm sorry, I can't even put that down to a maturity thing. And in addition to this, we very recently had one of the Holocaust survivors, Anita Lashka-Wolfish, who actually, I've never pronounced that right, I'm so terrible with names, but she spoke out about how she has toured all over, giving people her life story and everything that she went through. And she recently spoke out and said that she went to Eton and she spoke to both princes, where she said that Prince William really took it on board and was very concerned. Prince Harry, not so much. She said that he wasn't taking it seriously. It was very much, he doesn't care about an old lady stood there telling, you know, another life stories. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's always that kid in class, isn't there, that mucks around. But when you hear stories like this of Prince Harry, that even at Eton, he had an education from a woman that survived that sort of monstrosity in history, and he still made those choices to wear that uniform. It's just, all I can say is Edward Lane Fox did a bloody good job of making Harry one of the most popular royals, because now when you start to look back at these stories and things that he's done, you think, I used to really like him. And it's like they were very clever PR. And I just don't think there's an amount of PR out there that can stop Harry now that he is not under the guidance of these I guess, royal family PR gurus. It's like he's hit the self-destruct button. He upset the Canadians by, you know, not even thanking them for the fact their taxpayers paid for his little trip with the wife and the family. Obviously, in Australia, they weren't particularly impressed. And then once you heard the stories that came out of treatment of staff on that trip, so that's the Aussies out. And then obviously the UK, no, he's definitely not in our good books. But now he's really, well, no, he's already upset Americans, and then he upset Americans again, and now he's continuing to upset Americans. Okay, so if we start off with this, Harry has been living in America for what, less than 2 years. He has, well, it's been reported, I don't know how true this is, it's been reported that he has no intentions of taking up a US residency or citizenship. So someone's actually calling in to question at the moment. This immigration lawyer on Twitter is like pushing some buttons about what visa Harry's actually on and how he's allowed to get away with staying there. Because there is a big thing about, I think it's 183 days. He is responsible for paying taxes, I guess, presumably in both countries. So, you know, people are beginning to question, how's he still there? Why is he not left? Is this why he's coming over for the Jubilee? Because he's got to do a bit of a, I've got to stay here for a set number of days before I can go back. It would seem the more Harry is upsetting Americans by dropping some mega whopper clangers, the more you have Americans from all different areas beginning to ask questions. I have seen US politicians begin to inquire, what is Harry's actual, you know, status being out there? And then recently you've got this immigration lawyer on Twitter that is beginning to ask a lot of questions. How long's he staying here? What visa is he under? So, I mean, this is what I say. Harry needs to maybe keep his head below the parapet, because people are beginning to say, hey, if you're in our country, what are you actually contributing to it if you're going to keep opening your mouth? Now, with a recent video that I did, and lots of people have spoken about it across the media, that is the fact that they have got 11 companies or more that have been open since 2020 in Delaware. Now, I'm not saying there's anything untoward in this. I did say that in the video. It's, you know, lots of rich people, and I suppose people that are just sensible with money. You know, you do your taxes every year and you try and see if you can offset stuff. I guess it doesn't mean you have to be rich, but rich people obviously pay a lot of money to hide a lot more money than the rest of us. So it's quite clear that they are going to definitely keep the waters a little bit muddy when it comes to their finances. So Harry's not quite contributing to paying tax as far as everyone's aware at the moment. So to be meddling in politics, now this is a UK prince who is not a US citizen, talking to Americans, sitting there on a bench and basically trying to swing the American voters into the, into the direction which was Biden. Harry and Meghan were quite openly anti-Trump, but Donald Trump was quite openly anti-Meghan. So you've got that as clanger number one, which upset US citizens. And then another one, Harry, the First Amendment. That was bonkers. And that really upset Americans. You can talk about many things here, but you don't mess with Americans' Bill of Rights. I mean, you are asking for trouble. Now he's trying to cancel or being involved with trying to cancel people's careers. Yes. It's not like Meghan hasn't tried to do that. Well, she did, didn't she? She put in a personal phone call to get Piers Morgan's career destroyed. That kind of backfired, and Piers seems to be doing a lot better. Which obviously the decisions that were made and the fact that they didn't back Piers, that kind of backfired on spectacular reverse Midas touch to ITV. Now, it does seem everything this couple touch seems to basically, as I said, reverse Midas touch. It turns to what? So the already annoyed US audience are even more annoyed that they have weighed in on the Joe Rogan argument with Spotify. If you don't know what's going on with Spotify and Joe Rogan, you have to Google it, and I think you might be under a rock because it's everywhere. I've never listened to Joe Rogan myself until I watched, he did, I think it was an Instagram video explaining the story, because, obviously I'd like to see his side of what's going on. Yeah, it's turned into a bit of a thing that he's an anti-vaxxer, and he's not actually an anti-vaxxer, but he's had controversial people onto the show that are maybe anti having it done. It's caused a lot of controversy, but as you can see from the protests that have happened in all these different countries, you have got a part of the population that basically they're not just going to go along with one decision or another. But I did see that Joe Rogan has had people for and against on his show, but it seems they're only interested in the ones that were against. And again, this is very much the cancel culture, which I hate. I've got people trying to cancel me at the moment because I talk about the royal family. Well, it's not because I talk about the royal family, it's because I talk about Meghan and Harry, so therefore I should be cancelled. Now, the big thing that you've got here with Joe Rogan, and I'm really not comparing myself to what's going on with him, is it's free speech. And the whole thing is, if you like someone, watch them, listen to them. If you don't like someone, don't watch them, don't listen to them. Just because you don't like them doesn't mean that you get to cancel them. And then everyone, whether they liked them or not, has to go by your views. Sorry, it's a dictatorship when that starts to happen. And this seems to be what's happening, where people are going, right, now I disagree with that, let's destroy him. But it's not working. Now, you've had some people, I think Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, what they've done rather than destroy him, they have refused, they have had their music taken off of Spotify, saying, well, if you're going to have him, then you can't have us. Joe Rogan, and I'm not slating either one of those musicians, right now is the worldwide popular podcaster. He has over 11 million listeners per episode. He's done like over 1,600 podcasts since 2009. He literally produces 4 or 5 podcasts a week. And this is where you've got absolute irony that Harry and Meghan have jumped on this particular bandwagon and have basically turned around and said to Spotify, without saying Joe Rogan's name, but basically, well, I'll read it to you. Their quote through Archwell: "Since the inception of Archwell, we have worked to address the real-time global misinformation crisis." Yeah, okay. Hundreds of millions of people are affected by the serious harms of rampant mis and disinformation every day. Last April, our co-founders began expressing concerns to our partners at Spotify about the all too real consequences of misinformation. We look to Spotify to meet this moment and are committed to continuing our work together as it does. Translation for you. We have nothing to pull or threaten them with because we've produced no content apart from one 35-minute podcast which we were paid £18 million for, which was 14 months ago, which just featured some of our rich friends complaining about how hard they had it in the COVID pandemic. I'm still translating, hang on. We were relieved when this storyline came out because it gave us the perfect excuse to explain why we have given you no content. It's also helped us jump on one of the biggest headlines that's around the world at the moment, which means we get to stay relevant. Kind of two birds, one stone. Basically, because we don't take any responsibility for our own actions, we're going to blame Joe Rogan. So the self-righteous, uber-preachy couple that constantly tell us how to live the way we must live, the couple that are actually very, very, very involved with pro-vaccine and, you know, the COVID pandemic, blah, 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 given lots of speeches, have expressed their concerns at Spotify, but are keeping the £80 million paycheck. Expressing their concerns, this also makes me think of Harry. He knew what was going to happen at the Capitol that time, didn't he? Because he expressed his concerns to Jack Dorsey, who, if he'd only have acted, Prince Harry could have saved the day. The gift of foresight these two have is just immense. But it does also make the fact that their principles, it would seem, are quite clearly available for hire for the right price. Moreover, however, attempting to use their influence attempting to use their influence to have as I said, Spotify's #1 podcaster, who's probably got even more millions of views now plus subscribers just to prove a point, but they've used their position, their rank in life, to try and pressure Spotify into cancelling Joe Rogan. I'm going to say good luck with that. A very expensive mistake for Spotify, who now are having to employ their own staff, not Archwell staff, their own staff, to get the couple to produce something, anything. And they are the ones that are making demands about possibly Spotify's biggest earner. I can't imagine many people in Spotify are particularly happy with the couple at the moment, so I can't see that they're going to have little runners going around going, Harry and Meghan have spoken, we must get rid of Joe. But it does just make you think, doesn't it? Harry, as I said, is a guest in America. As it stands, he's not paying tax, he's not working out there as such, and he keeps getting involved in controversial issues affecting, well, Americans. As I said, 11 million people listen to Joe Rogan, and I only listened to the Instagram video, but he seems fairly fair. And it's this cancel culture where you have always got two sides of the coin, and you can't say you must only agree with what I say, because that's not free speech. That is what is making this world become really dangerous with the cancel culture. It's turning things into a dictatorship. So it seems that Joe Rogan, whilst you've got one or two people going, I'm going to pull my stuff, he's got a lot more support than he has people trying to take him down. So it seems very much that Harry is intent on hitting that self-destruct button in the USA as well. So by keep getting involved in things like this, it is definitely turning the Americans off of him. And, you know, there's lots of political storms going on at the moment, and trying to cancel someone that's got different views and constantly preaching about misinformation, disinformation, when that couple are Miss and Mr. misinformation themselves. It's not Joe Rogan who's going to get cancelled, it's them. And to be honest, I think that Meghan's one step away from, we're going to read a story that Meghan's written to Joe Biden of the amendments she'd like to make to the Bill of Rights, and Harry sent in a crayon drawing of the changes that he'd like to make to the American flag to make it more woke and inclusive. They are certainly not earning themselves any more fans. I hope you enjoyed the video. Tell me your thoughts, and I will be back with you very soon for another video to do with, is Charles calling Harry's bluff? So speak to you soon. Bye.
If you like my video, please remember to like and subscribe. Please, angry typists, you will be blocked, so save your fingers the time. If you would like to buy me a coffee, please go to my About page and click the link. Love, Taz.